Here are 3 true horror stories. Number 1. The Disappearance of Brandon Swanson, 2008, Minnesota. A desperate phone call, a sudden exclamation of fear, and then nothing. On May 14, 2008, Brandon Swanson, a 19-year-old college student from Marshall, Minnesota, vanished without a trace after his car veered into a ditch on a rural road. His disappearance has baffled investigators for over a decade, as the circumstances surrounding it are deeply unsettling. Despite an exhaustive search, no physical evidence has ever been found. No body, no clothing, no phone, and no sign of foul play. But the most chilling aspect of the case? Brandon was on the phone with his father when he suddenly let out a startled exclamation, "Oh shit!" And then the call went dead. He was never seen or heard from again. Brandon Swanson, the person behind the mystery. Brandon Victor Swanson was born in 1989 and lived in Marshall, Minnesota, with his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson. He was a responsible, intelligent young man who had just finished his first year at Minnesota West Community and Technical College in Canby. His major was wind energy, a growing field at the time. On the night of his disappearance, Brandon was out celebrating the end of the school year with friends. By all accounts, he was in good spirits and not heavily intoxicated, though he had consumed some alcohol. Brandon was legally blind in one eye, but this had never been an issue for him. He was confident in his ability to navigate and was familiar with the rural roads between Canby and his hometown of Marshall. What happened to him that night remains one of the most disturbing and perplexing mysteries in modern true crime. The last night, May 13th to 14th, 2008. 1:30 a.m., Brandon crashes his car. After leaving a gathering of friends in Canby, Brandon began driving home to Marshall, a 30-mile journey that should have taken about 40 minutes. At some point, however, he became disoriented and accidentally drove off the road into a shallow ditch. Realizing his car was stuck but undamaged, Brandon called his parents at 1:54 a.m. and asked them to pick him up. He told them he believed he was near Lind, Minnesota, a small town along his route home. His parents immediately set out to find him, keeping him on the phone as they flashed their headlights and tried to locate him. However, Brandon couldn't see their lights, and they couldn't see his. It was as if he wasn't where he thought he was. 2 a.m., Brandon decides to walk. After some frustration, Brandon decided to walk toward the town of Lind, which he said he could see in the distance. He told his father to meet him at a well-known bar in Lind, and they agreed to keep talking as he walked. Over the next 47 minutes, Brandon remained on the phone with his father, describing his surroundings. His parents were frustrated but not overly worried. Brandon seemed calm, confident, and completely aware of where he was. Until he wasn't. 2:30 a.m. Oh, shit. As Brandon continued walking, his father suddenly heard him curse in alarm. Oh, shit. And then the call abruptly cut off. Despite repeated attempts to call back, Brandon never answered again. The immediate aftermath. Brandon's parents, deeply unsettled, drove around the Lind area searching for him, but found no sign of their son. As dawn broke and there was still no word from Brandon, they contacted the police. But their nightmare was just beginning. The authorities were initially reluctant to investigate, as young men often go missing temporarily after parties. The Swansons insisted this was completely out of character for Brandon. He was responsible and not the type to run off. By mid-morning, law enforcement finally agreed to ping Brandon's last known location. What they discovered changed everything. Brandon's car wasn't near Lind at all. It was found 20 miles away, near Taunton, Minnesota, an entirely different direction than where he thought he was. This meant that 1. Brandon was completely disoriented that night. 2. He wasn't walking toward Lind. He was walking further into the wilderness. The search area expanded dramatically, but it only led to more questions. The search for Brandon Swanson. For weeks, search teams scoured the vast, open farmlands, rivers, and dense patches of trees near Taunton. They used bloodhounds to track his scent, helicopters and drones to scan the area, cadaver dogs and search teams combing every inch of land. The only clue they found? A scent trail leading to the Yellow Medicine River, where it suddenly stopped. Had Brandon fallen into the river and drowned? Rescue divers searched every inch of the water, but found nothing. No body, no clothing, no cell phone, nothing. And that's when the theories began. Theories. What happened to Brandon Swanson? 1. Accidental drowning. Most official theory. Since the scent trail ended at the river, many believe Brandon accidentally fell in and drowned. His "oh shit" could have been a reaction to slipping into the water. The cold temperature and strong current could have caused him to drown before he could escape. But there's a major problem with this theory. His body was never found. Even after extensive searches, divers never recovered remains, which is highly unusual. 2. Hypothermia and disorientation. Some suggest Brandon may have succumbed to hypothermia, wandered aimlessly, and collapsed somewhere unseen. However, the farmland and riverbanks were thoroughly searched. His body should have been found. 3. Foul play? Was Brandon murdered? Some suspect Brandon may have encountered someone in the dark, and that person didn't want him found. Supporting evidence. His sudden exclamation of fear. The fact that his phone cut out instantly with no struggle or splashing sounds. If someone attacked him, they could have destroyed his phone immediately, preventing further calls. Moved his body, explaining why no remains were found. But there was never any sign of struggle or witnesses, making this theory highly speculative. 4. Paranormal or unknown forces. Given the eerie lack of evidence, some speculate Brandon may have encountered something beyond human explanation. Some believe he may have stumbled into a time slip or alternate dimension, similar to missing 411 cases. Others suggest UFOs or abduction, as there is zero trace of him anywhere. Though purely speculative, it is unusual for someone to vanish so completely. The lasting mystery. Brandon Swanson has now been missing for over 15 years. His parents never stopped searching for him, but no evidence has ever been found. In 2009, the Swansons helped pass Brandon's Law, which requires police to investigate all missing adult cases immediately. But despite everything, the case remains one of the strangest disappearances in modern history. What really happened that night? Why did Brandon say, "oh shit"? And why has no trace of him ever been found? Until answers emerge, the disappearance of Brandon Swanson remains a chilling and tragic mystery. Story number 2. The Dybbuk Box, a cursed relic of Jewish folklore. A mysterious wine cabinet. A series of terrifying events. A malevolent spirit that refuses to rest. The legend of the Dybbuk Box is one of the most chilling paranormal cases in modern history. This small, unassuming wooden cabinet is said to harbor an evil spirit from Jewish folklore known as a Dybbuk, a restless, vengeful entity that possesses the living. The box's story has left a trail of fear, illness, and misfortune in its wake. Each of its owners has suffered from disturbing nightmares, violent health issues, and terrifying encounters with shadowy figures. Even those who come near it report strange occurrences, and no one dares to open it again. Is it all an elaborate hoax? Or is there something truly evil inside the Dybbuk Box? The origins of the Dybbuk legend. The term Dybbuk comes from Jewish mysticism and folklore. It describes a malicious spirit, a displaced soul that cannot find rest due to sins committed in life. Unlike traditional ghosts, Dybbuks don't just haunt places, they possess people. They are said to cling to the living, feeding on their energy and causing madness, disease, or even death. The only way to remove a Dybbuk is through religious exorcisms, often performed by trained rabbis. For centuries, these spirits were considered rare and dangerous, and it was believed that certain objects could trap them, keeping them sealed away from the world. This brings us to the Dybbuk box, a seemingly ordinary wine cabinet, or perhaps a prison for something unspeakable. The Dybbuk box story begins, 2001, Portland, Oregon. The legend of the Dybbuk box began in 2001 when an antique collector, Kevin Mannis, attended an estate sale in Portland, Oregon. The sale was for an elderly woman, Havilah, a Holocaust survivor who had recently passed away at the age of 103. As Mannis browsed through her belongings, he came across a small wooden wine cabinet with Hebrew carvings on the back. Inside, he found 2 locks of human hair wrapped in string, a small golden goblet, a dried rosebud, a 4-legged candlestick holder, a granite slab with the Hebrew word shalom, peace, inscribed on it. Intrigued, Mannis asked Havilah's granddaughter about the cabinet. She grew visibly uncomfortable and told him he could have it, but under one condition: never open it. She explained that her grandmother had always warned her family about the box. It was never to be touched, never to be opened. Havilah claimed it contained a Dybbuk and had been sealed shut to protect everyone from the spirit inside. Mannis, skeptical of ghost stories, ignored the warning and bought the box. His nightmare began immediately. Kevin Mannis' experience. The nightmare begins. Mannis brought the Dybbuk box to his antique store, excited to restore it and sell it for profit. As he worked on the box, strange things began happening. He heard disembodied whispers in the store at night. Light bulbs exploded without cause. Objects moved on their own. One day, while working in his workshop, he left briefly to run an errand. When he returned, he found his shop ransacked, but nothing was stolen. And in the middle of the mess, the Dybbuk box standing upright undamaged. Still, Mannis didn't believe the box was haunted. So, he opened it, and that's when things got much, much worse. The curse spreads. Paranormal phenomena. After opening the Dybbuk box, Mannis started experiencing horrific nightmares, always of a dark, shadowy creature with sunken eyes. Visitors to his shop reported the same nightmares after being near the box. Then he gave the box to his mother as a birthday gift. The same day, she suffered a severe stroke, completely paralyzing her. She managed to write 2 words on a piece of paper: hate gift. Terrified, Mannis tried to sell the box, passing it from owner to owner. Every single person who took possession of the Dybbuk box experienced terrible events. Horrible nightmares of a demonic old woman. Mysterious illnesses, coughing up blood, welts appearing on skin. Sudden power failures and electrical malfunctions. Shadow figures appearing in their homes. It didn't matter where they moved the box, the curse followed them. Jason Haxton. The Dybbuk box becomes a legend. One of the later owners, Jason Haxton, a museum curator, purchased the box after reading Mannis' story online. Immediately, Haxton's health deteriorated. He developed breathing issues, hives, and vision problems. One night, he woke up to the feeling of being suffocated, as if something invisible was pressing down on his chest. Determined to rid himself of the curse, Haxton consulted Jewish rabbis, who performed a sealing ritual and instructed him to hide the box away forever. To this day, Haxton refuses to reveal where he hid it. But the story doesn't end there. The Dybbuk box in Hollywood. The Possession movie, 2012. In 2012, the horror movie The Possession was released, loosely based on the Dybbuk box legend. During filming, the cast and crew reported bizarre occurrences. A lights on set exploded. Cold gusts of air appeared in closed rooms. Mysterious shadows moved behind the cameras. Even creepier, the storage warehouse for film props mysteriously burned down. with no clear cause. To this day, many of the actors refuse to discuss the Dybbuk box. Zach Bagans and the Dybbuk box, 2018 present. In 2018, paranormal investigator Zach Bagans acquired the Dybbuk box and placed it in his haunted museum in Las Vegas. Numerous visitors who viewed the box reported sudden nausea and dizziness, feelings of extreme dread, hearing whispers in their ears. Even Post Malone, the famous musician, visited the museum and briefly touched the Dybbuk box. Shortly afterward, he suffered a near-fatal car accident, a break-in at his home, an emergency plane landing due to faulty equipment. Coincidence? Or the curse at work? Is the Dybbuk box real? Hoax or haunted? Some skeptics believe Kevin Manis fabricated the story, and that the Dybbuk box is just an elaborate hoax. But many owners, visitors, and witnesses swear they have experienced unexplainable phenomena after being near the box. If it's all fake, why do so many people suffer similar nightmares, health issues, and bizarre events? And if it is real, what's still trapped inside that box? Final warning: do not open the box. To this day, the Dybbuk box remains sealed away, hidden from the world. But if you ever come across it, do not open it, because some things should never be unleashed. Story number 3. The Bennington Triangle Disappearances, 1940s to 1950s, Vermont. A place where people vanish without a trace. A region filled with folklore, eerie coincidences, and unexplained phenomena. Something is lurking in the Bennington Triangle, something that takes people. Between 1945 and 1950, a series of bizarre disappearances occurred in the Green Mountain National Forest, Vermont, in an area now called the Bennington Triangle. 5 people vanished under similar circumstances. No bodies were ever found, except one, and it made no sense. Search dogs lost the scent, as if the missing had vanished into thin air. To this day, no one knows what happened to them. Was it a serial killer, a supernatural force, or something even stranger? Let's explore the mystery of the Bennington Triangle. What is the Bennington Triangle? The Bennington Triangle is an area in southwestern Vermont, near Glastonbury Mountain, known for its paranormal activity, unsolved disappearances, and strange occurrences. The term was coined by Joseph Citro, a Vermont author who noticed that the region had a history of people vanishing mysteriously, Native American legends warning of evil spirits, unusual lights in the sky, bizarre weather patterns, and unnatural silence. The Green Mountain National Forest covers much of the area, thousands of acres of dense woods, steep cliffs, and hidden caves. Many hikers refuse to enter the deeper parts of the forest, claiming that the air feels wrong, that there is an unnatural silence, and that they feel watched. And for good reason, because something has been taking people. The disappearances, 1945 to 1950. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people vanished in the Bennington Triangle under eerily similar circumstances. Each case remains unsolved, and no evidence has ever been found to explain what happened. 1. Mid-Eye Rivers, 1945. The hunter who disappeared. On November 12, 1945, Mid-Eye Rivers, a 74-year-old experienced hunter and outdoorsman, was leading a hunting group in the Green Mountains. Despite knowing the area better than anyone, Mid-Eye walked ahead of the group and was never seen again. The group searched for him for hours, but he had vanished. No footprints, no signs of struggle, no tracks, just gone. Over 300 searchers, bloodhounds, and helicopters combed the area for weeks. The only clue? A single rifle cartridge found near a riverbed. But no body. No explanation. Mid-Eye Rivers was never found. 2. Paula Weldon, 1946. The college student who vanished in plain sight. On December 1st, 1946, Paula Weldon, an 18-year-old college student at Bennington College, went for a hike on the Long Trail, a popular hiking route in the Bennington Triangle. Several witnesses saw her walking. She was wearing a bright red jacket, easy to spot in the wilderness. She was alone, but seemed happy and relaxed. And then, she disappeared. When she didn't return, her roommate reported her missing. Over 1,000 people searched the area for weeks. Bloodhounds picked up her scent, but lost it suddenly, as if she vanished into thin air. No footprints, no clothing, no remains, nothing. Even stranger, years later, a waitress in Massachusetts claimed a distressed woman matching Paula's description came into the diner, looking disoriented. By the time authorities arrived, she was gone. To this day, Paula Weldon was never found. 3. James Tetford, 1949. The man who disappeared from a moving bus. On December 1, 1949, exactly 3 years after Paula Weldon vanished, James Tetford, a veteran and resident of a local soldier's home, was traveling on a bus from St. Albans to Bennington. He boarded the bus with 14 other passengers. Witnesses saw him sitting in his seat as the bus neared Bennington. But when the bus arrived, his seat was empty. His luggage was still there. His ticket was still on his seat. But James Tetford had vanished from a moving bus, with no one seeing him leave. No one knows how he disappeared or where he went. 4. Paul Jepson, 1950. The missing boy. On October 12, 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson was playing near his family's farm truck while his mother tended to pigs. When she returned minutes later, he was gone. A massive search was launched immediately. Bloodhounds tracked his scent, but it led to the same spot where Paula Weldon vanished. There were no tracks, no sign of an animal attack. Nothing. Some say Paul had been obsessed with the wilderness lately, talking constantly about going into the mountains. But if he did, he never came out. Paul Jepson was never found. 5. Frida Langer, 1950. The only body ever found. On October 28, 1950, just 16 days after Paul Jepson vanished, 53-year-old Frida Langer went on a hiking trip with her cousin near the Somerset Reservoir. While crossing a shallow stream, she slipped and fell, soaking her clothes. She told her cousin she would run back to camp, change, and return. She never returned. Despite hundreds of searchers, planes, helicopters, and dogs, no trace of Frida was found. But here's where things get even stranger. 6 months later, her body was found in a spot that had been searched multiple times before. And her cause of death? Unknown. Her body was too decomposed to determine how she died. She remains the only one of the Bennington Triangle victims whose body was ever found. Theories. What's taking people in the Bennington Triangle? With so many bizarre disappearances, theories have emerged about what could be happening in the Bennington Triangle. 1. Serial killer? Some believe a serial killer was operating in the area during the 1940s and 1950s. But this doesn't explain how people disappeared in completely different locations. Why search dogs lost the scent instantly. How a man vanished from a moving bus. 2. Wild animals? Bears and mountain lions live in the region, but they would have left remains, blood, clothing, or bones. None were ever found. 3. Paranormal forces? Some believe the Bennington Triangle is a supernatural hotspot with portals to another dimension. Time slips, trapping people forever. Mysterious creatures that snatch people away. Native American legends warn that Glastonbury Mountain is cursed, a place where evil spirits live. They refuse to settle there. Were they right? The mystery remains. Decades later, the Bennington Triangle still claims victims. Hikers report feeling watched, hearing voices whispering their names, seeing shadowy figures in the trees. Something is still there. And if you go into the Bennington Triangle, you might not come back. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories.